Hello and welcome back to the Spotlight Games podcast for episode 136. Today we have a PlayStation-centric show for you. We're reviewing the latest PlayStation 5 release, Astro Bot, and we're going to be sharing our thoughts on the, call it fucking exciting PS5 Pro announcement from earlier today from Sony. Joining me as always, my sweet dumpster boy, Cayman Darty. Cayman, how you doing?
I was doing fine until you used the word exciting to describe the PlayStation 5 Pro announcement. It feels like a misnomer. I mean, feels like you're lying to the audience, actually.
I love to lie.
That's been proven to be true.
It's one of my favorite things, which may not be a great first impression for our guest of the show today, twitch.tv/JakeTwitchin, the #1 variety streamer on Twitch, joining us for the podcast. Jake, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me. I feel like it's weird because I'm a streamer and I think a lot of people have parasocial relationships with me, but I have parasocial relationships with you guys. So I'm excited to foster them. And it's like all coming to fruition. Like you two and Cognitive Clips and JK Games. And now I've weaseled my way in here. It begins.
Oh, the parasocial's turning social, baby. We got a lot of video game stuff to talk about because this is the Spotlight Games podcast where each week we spotlight the latest and the greatest in the world of video games. You can get it by subscribing to our YouTube channel at Spotlight Games Pod or by searching for Spotlight Games in your favorite podcast app. And hey, you can be on the show by tuning in as we record live Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time right here on twitch.tv/Spotlight Games Pod. So be sure to follow us on Twitch so that you're notified when we go live so you can be part of the conversation. Also, tomorrow night, 24 hours from right now, we're going to be right here on twitch.tv/Spotlight Games Pod with Twitch's own GWT Maury. You've seen him on the show a couple times in the last few weeks. Him and I are going to be doing a little co-op stream of Resident Evil 5 to kick off spooky season with spook-like games, so be there. Or I will, in fact, take it personally and assume that you hate me, you hate Cayman, you hate Jake, you hate Resident Evil, and you hate fun. I'm gonna be
the most offensive part of it all.
Yeah, exactly. We got Vaniel Fan in the chat giving a little Jakey poo. Thanks for being here, Vaniel Fan. Welcome to the chaos. Also, join the Discord. We got a fun little Discord. If you look at us on socials, you look at the description of the YouTube link. Click the link. Join the socials or join the Discord rather. We got a fun little thing going on and we'd love to have you. Another first time chatter from Shay Noel. Shay, thanks for being here. And of course, Cognitive Clips in the chat. Thanks for being here, Jordan. We got a fun show ahead. We are going to be talking all about Astro Bot. As I said, we're going to be talking all about the PS5 Pro announcement today, the reveal. But before we do any of that, I would love to hear, let's start with you, Jake. What have you been playing not named Astro Bot?
I stream. When you said I'm the #1 variety streamer on Twitch, we don't mean this in numbers. Let me tell you, it's not in popularity. It's in pure variety of games. So I'm usually playing a ton of different things, but like highlights, I rolled credits on Shadow of the Colossus recently. I played Elsie this morning, which was pretty rad. But I spent a lot of time recently. My two big full playthroughs have been Ice Age 2: The Meltdown on PS2 and Visions of Mana, which is like kind of right in my wheelhouse, both of those.
So I've never played Ice Age 2 on any console, let alone the PS2. Are you playing native on the PS2 or are we being naughty and emulating that?
Yeah. No, I'm original hardware. I got the case back in my stack over here. The PS2 is ready to roll via HDMI. It's upscaled to 720p. It's the look and sound of good enough. No save states. I'm doing it naturally.
Yeah, I love that. I talk to me a little bit about how Ice Age 2 feels in the year 2024.
It's tough going from Astro Bot to Ice Age.
Oh, I bet.
You're never gonna believe it's not quite as tight, nor such a visual spectacle. But honestly, like I have a deep affinity for like B grade 3D platformers, especially things from like the early 2000s to the mid 2010s. Any of those movie based games, like Over the Hedge or Barnyard or any of the Shrek video games.
Yeah.
Like if it's based off of like a crappy movie and they put out like a tie-in game, I'm really excited. I have a brand new sealed copy of Shark Tale for the Xbox that I'm going to start jamming on. When was the last time you opened the seal on an original Xbox game?
At least 15 years, if not more.
I can't wait.
Almost, or definitely more than that.
It seems like your streaming profile fits into the awfully bad games done quick category. I'm pretty sure everything you just announced, I've seen a speed run at 2 a.m. During games done quick. I honestly, I'm fucking here for it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I try to keep like a nice balance on my channel of like really old cursed shit that I am like interested in streaming that's unique to my channel that like I don't know who else is streaming games like that. And then kind of like those like Astro Bot, me and everybody else are streaming at this point. And then Visions of Mana is kind of like that more obscure new release. I try to showcase a variety. I want people to know like, hey, if you're not sure about this game that just came out, you can come to me. I'll check it out for you.
Hell yeah.
I think we're gonna play Towerborn in early access tonight.
Ooh, nice. Something that I miss, this isn't real, but something that I miss about that time is how all versions of a game were just drastically different. Like the Xbox version compared to the PS2 version, sometimes completely different video games. And then you bring handheld into it, it's truly an actually totally different designed video game.
One of the reasons that is the case is because a lot of times there was more than one developer working on different platforms.
Oh, sure, that makes sense.
Because when they're being tie-in games, because of the fact that you would have like such a short turnaround that it would be like from the time it was announced, from the time the game needs to be, the game needs to drop right around the same time that the movie, comes out as well. So you might have the same developer do like the PlayStation Xbox port, man, like that Nintendo DS port of every single movie that had a movie game tie-in.
Yeah.
100% by a completely different developer than did the main one. Funnily enough, though, there's some of the best movie tie-in ports were on the Nintendo DS. Like a lot of times you would get the best version of that game would be on the DS.
I got some catching up to do. Sure. I never had a DS back in the day, but I have a 3DS now. So who knows?
Ready to go.
Jake, tell us a little bit about Visions of Mana. It's a game that we've had our eyes on this show. Cayman, he loves that kind of game. Cayman, correct me if I'm wrong, you've not played it yet, right?
I have not played it yet. I'm just kind of figuring out where to squeeze what I want to play in next. I don't feel like I have enough time lately to do too much. So I'm excited to hear because honestly, haven't even seen much in terms of reviews and things like that coming out for it.
Yeah, it's a tough season, and I was kind of on the same page as you came in as far as like when I got this game. At the top here, review copy provided by Square Enix. Cover our bases. Don't come at me. Sweet of them to send it over, but they didn't buy my time nor my opinion. So my thought was like a lot of times like I will just. My perspective on spending money on games is different because I always say like I use my chat's money to buy all these games. Like you guys, thanks for subscribing and supporting me so that we can continue to play like a wide array of things and showcase different stuff. So I am not above like spending a decent amount of money on a game that we only play for a few hours just to check it out.
Sure.
And I thought that this game is going to be that for me. I was a fan of the Mana series. I played Sword of Mana back on my Game Boy Advance in like 2003, which I really loved. And then since then, hadn't really checked out the series. It was mostly remakes and remasters. They booted this thing up and had the best like 3.5 hour stream ever of this game. It was such jolly traditional JRPG vibes. Have either of you guys played Dragon Quest 11?
Let me tell you something right now, brother.
Oh, yeah?
115 hours in that fucking platinum. And it was still, I think, still to this day, potentially my favorite platinum of all time. Just
something you might not know about Cayman is he hates himself and will hurt himself to get a platinum trophy.
Fuck yeah. So
that's awesome.
It's funny. Speaking about like the audience, like helping support that, we had like a goal that was like, hey, can we fund Cayman getting a PlayStation Portal? And then the reward would be I would deliver a platinum review. I would destroy myself in the process. 115 hours and brutally difficult final leg of that platinum run is rough. Like it is hard as hell. Fantastic game though. So vibing with what you're putting down so far.
Yeah. So the way that I have described this game, even from like a visual aesthetic, you can see it doesn't quite have that like Toriyama effect visually, but it is. If the way that I describe it is basically Visions of Mana is to action RPGs as Dragon Quest XI is to turn-based RPGs. It is not reinventing the wheel. It is not showing you something you've never seen before, but it is polished to an immaculate shine and just really bringing the funk in addition to the noise here as far as like just JRPG soul food, man. It just scratches a part of my brain that I constantly need itched. It is so fun to grab all of these different things, like as far as your classes go and the different like things that you can wear and little quality of life enhancements that you don't see in other JRPGs that are so fun. Like being able to, if you've accessed any point in like a town, you can just quick teleport there. Like I don't want to run all the way south to the southeast so I can get to the weapons vendor. You can just open up the pause menu and zip your character there across the map. Just like little fine touches where there are just like no points of friction whatsoever in that video game. Everything that you want it to do, you're like, I wonder if I can. Oh yeah, you can do that.
That's cool. I do like that. Cognitive Clips in the chat says he played the demo, sadly took all the wind out of his sails with a little Joe emote, a new emote to the channel. One of my cats. Did you touch the demo at all, or did you just jump right in?
Yeah, I played the demo. The demo gave me enough to like the demo is it's a vertical slice, which is cool. It's not like the opening 3 hours of the game. Oh, nice. It is, I got to that point probably like 10 or 11 hours into the game. It's pretty deep in there and you have like a full party and there's no real like story stuff in there. But I was hot enough on it to be like, okay, I should try this. And I'll be honest, like I wasn't really the game has a really strong prologue, which is nice, and that goes a long way for me. Where I was really hooked within like the first hour, and then once I got transported into the regular scenario of the game, I was already so hooked on that prologue that I was like, I gotta see this through. So that like first 3 hour stream that I did was like an hour prologue, 2 hours of the base chunk of the game. And I kind of knew what we were going towards as far as like maneuvering around the open field and the actual battle system. And I was like, I can see this clicking into place for sure. So, I mean, listen, if you play the demo and it's not for you, I don't think it's going to sell you on the entire thing. But if you were like, the story doesn't seem up my alley, I would give it another shot there. But if it seems like it's something you could be into, you'd probably be into it.
Okay.
Love to hear that.
Love to hear that. Cayman, what have you been playing that's not called Astro Bot?
Where do I want to begin, Patrick? I've got a couple dumpster dives for us, actually. Let's see. Where do I want to start off? Let's start off with a positive.
Let's start positive and go negative.
Let's start positive, then we'll go negative. I like that.
That's how the show's gonna go too. Is a little spoiler.
Oh, is it? Okay, so let's start with Scars Above. Scars Above, I want to say, Jordan, you're in the chat. I know you're in the chat. Please drop it. I want to say it's either 2022, 2023. I'm leaning 2023 release date. First time dev out of, I want to say, Serbia, that was bought out by Saber Interactive, which immediately for anyone in the know should probably give you pause, because Saber Interactive is track record is very poor. Glad to report Scars Above, not that bad of a game. It's very much it's a double A. You're going to get about 6 to 10 hours, just depending on like how slow you want to proceed through it. Never really found, there was never really like any like game breaking bugs. I was going through looking over and seeing like, okay, is there any, like I reached out to Cog and was like, yeah, man, working on the platinum for this. Anything I should be aware of right off the bat? He's like, a couple glitch trophies. You'll know pretty early on though. Didn't have any issues with it. Was pretty smooth sailing through the game. There's some things I wasn't huge on. So it's a third person shooter, Souls-like, without like the grueling punishment of a Souls-like, where game is difficult even on the easiest settings. Like it's not an easy game by any stretch, and you'll die quite a bit. It's got the stamina. It has like pretty much all of what you would expect out of a Souls-like. Probably closer, I would say, like just a less polished Remnant, I think is probably like the closest way to explain it. Sure. Super sci-fi, very story driven. And I think that's the saving grace of this game, is the story is really cool. The worlds can feel a little bit rote, I think, at times, where it's like, been here, seen this before, but they're never long. Like I said, you can get through this game in 6 to 8 hours. I think I platinum it at 8. But I could definitely see you taking more time if you really wanted to. I was kind of, by the end of it, I was kind of like, yeah, I've figured out the patterns on like where everything I need to find will be located. And so was able to get through it. I think it's pretty cool. I think by the end of the game, it definitely gets a lot easier towards the end of the game as you start to get like unlocks for your weapons and stuff like that. So it does have a nice feeling progression system. Picks it up on sale for I want to say $7.99. So under $10. If you get a full price, $30 game. So even then, still a budget title, AA game. Picked it up for, we try to keep dumpster dives under $10. That's the goal here. Never above 10. We want that $9.99. That's our max limit. Happy to report, I did enjoy my time with it. I think I gave it like a 3.5 out of 5 golden shovels in my review. You can catch the whole review if you want to see my full thoughts. I definitely recommend going to our Discord channel. You have my review there. Also, if you want an even better review than that, go to Cognitive Clips. Go to his YouTube. Go to the YouTube page for Cognitive Clips. Watch his review. Go watch his review because, and I say this because there's a really cool thing about this game that I really enjoyed. And it is that every single aspect that it introduces any sort of new element, it's built into the story. You're never like picking up something being like, oh, this is just, there's ammo everywhere. It's like, no, ammo is natural resources and it's introduced in a very methodical way that makes sense within the world the story has been created as. So I really, and I don't think we see a lot of that in modern games. Like a lot, even games that are like very thorough with all their stuff. It's rare that there's video games, and we'll talk about one with Astro Bot, but like this game feels like every little thing was built with purpose. I can't wait to see what they end up doing in the future when they have like a larger budget. Maybe Saber gives them a little extra oomph. Maybe they build out a little bit. I think there's something good happening with this particular studio. I can't wait to see what they're going to do next.
Hell yeah.
If you can pick it up for under $10, I think it's a complete shoe-in. Fun game. I think, and the story's good. I think you would enjoy it. Most people would enjoy it. So that would be the first one. Okay. Patrick, I'm going to pause though, because I feel like I've talked for too much. I want to hear from you.
Handsome Tony in the chat says he could listen to Cayman all day, and I don't disagree with that. But I will take the reins for a second, and then we'll kick it back to you. So only thing that I've been playing outside of Astro Bot, which we'll talk about shortly, I haven't gone back to Outlaws because in the midst of, or after last week's episode with Jerica, if you haven't seen that, go back to the VOD, go to the podcast service, listen to our conversation about Outlaws. It was a lot of fun. Astro Bot came out, but also end of last week, Concord shut down. So I wanted to play a little Concord because we don't know that the game is ever going to come back. So it was fun. It was like a bittersweet moment of playing that game literally as it was shut down. Like I was mid-match. I played a few matches Friday afternoon. And in the middle of one of them, we were kicking ass, by the way. One of the few times I can say that. Like 2-3 minutes into the match, it just kicked everybody out and was like, all right, thanks for playing. We're going to go die now, which is sad. But had a lot of fun with Concord. I really hope that it comes back. Our friend Maury did a 24-hour stream. I made a little appearance in there for a bit, played alongside him on the stream. His viewers gave Maury $30 to hear me sing a little bit of Les Mis. So it was a time. We had a time. So we're going to bring that energy tomorrow night with the Resident Evil 5 stream, which is going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, pour one out for Concord. Hope it comes back because, as I said at some point on this show, the first multiplayer game that really grabbed me since like Call of Duty 4. Like I'm bummed to see that one go. But Cayman, what else you got for us?
All right, so I'm going to do a combo back here. I wasn't on last week's episode. We're not going to talk about why, because it was I don't think it's Twitch appropriate, Patrick.
I told everybody that you died, so obviously,
honestly, there was a pretty good chance I wasn't coming out of that particular coma that I was in. That shit lasted 4 days, Patrick.
Been there, brother.
Days, Patrick. That I
think my worst was 3, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah, genuinely. You hit me up on Discord. I'll fill you in on the details of how I almost died. So I wasn't last week's episode, so I couldn't talk about. I got the platinum on Proteus. So for those of you who tuned into the episode beforehand, Proteus is a boomer shooter currently on PlayStation Plus right now. It was part of our dumpster dive segment. I cannot recommend that game nearly enough. The platinum up there with the Elden Ring, I think, with like one of the hardest platinums I've ever gotten. There's some trophies in this game that are like complete an entire level without taking a single point of damage.
Wow.
Playing
That
on like
sounds
the
absurd.
ultra difficult level or difficulty, which is essentially 2 hits you're killed by any enemy. You're just dead, wiped. Some will just wipe you in one shot. It can be brutally difficult. The game is so much fucking fun though.
Hell yeah.
Oh my god, I put 40 hours into it. I was just absolutely
Wow.
loving it every minute. Could I have done it faster? 100%. Did I want to? Absolutely not. I was having so much fun. Which brings me to the next point, which I just rolled platinum on this game called Gastro Force. And picked up for, I want to say $2.99 on sale during their Deal Mania on PSN. So picked it up, really been feeling and like really been enjoying boomer shooters lately. And this was like a retro style boomer shooter. More akin, I think, to Wolfenstein and its like presentation and like what it was trying to do. And it's bad. And that's really all there is to say.
Damn.
Is that like, but I think it brings up a really interesting conversation point when you compare it next to something like Proteus. And I think this is what's really good about dumpster dives is kind of like being able, because you can like pinpoint certain things of like, where do things fail? And I think one of the things, and Jake, you can probably point this out, specifically playing a lot of like older games, variety games, right? Of like, there are times where like, I think developers nowadays misconstrue the idea that old games were difficult. Like, old games were difficult for a very particular reason. That was because they were very short. And so it was to try to draw out the length. I think FromSoft does a really good job of being like, we make difficult games that are fair, but very difficult. This game, even on the easiest difficulty for Gastroforce, was like, it just sucks.
Yeah.
It's clunky. It's sluggish. Dude, there were so many times where I was just like taking ludicrous amounts of damage because I was so laggy that I like couldn't get my fucking aim. Like I couldn't get my reticle like over fast enough because I was just getting I was like very frustrated. The one saving grace, and I say this, I think honestly that the developer did this on purpose, is that you can platinum the game in 30 minutes.
One of those.
Because all you have to do is make it to level 10 out of a 30 level game. I stopped at level 10 and was like, I'm not going back.
That's good.
A lot of dumpster dives, like even like there's times where like I've picked up games before where I've played an hour and I've been like, this ain't for me.
Sure.
I'm not even going to be able to get far enough in to review this. I can astutely say that what this game is attempting to do, I think there's a lot of people attempting to do boomer shooters lately. And while I really appreciate that, the crux of a boomer shooter is that you need to feel like you're moving fast. You need to be moving quick. You need to feel punchy. Everything needs to feel good. Like and there's things that I'll forgive if you can nail that. This game didn't nail any of it. And so when I popped that platinum trophy in 35 minutes, it was like, this shit is shovelware. And I don't like it. But I think it was interesting putting it next to Proteus. I'm being like, if done correctly, you can have a game like this. And don't get me wrong, most likely Gastroforce is probably done by like a handful of dudes. This is probably their first game where like Proteus was made by devs from fucking Ravensoft, right? Yeah. These people know boomer shooters. I think, and I always like to like make sure I give a little bit of grace here. So like, while yes, the game sucks, like I don't really know any other way to say it. The game sucks. It's I do kind of hope that they give it another shot and kind of learn from some of the mistakes and critiques that they've gotten up to this point. And if you go to Google reviews, I can almost guarantee you there are none. Because I went to Good Games. I was the only person to ever review this game. So,
yep, no Google reviews.
Crazy.
And that is the dumpster dives, baby.
Let's go. Dumpster dives in the chat. Another new emote, the dumpster dive emote. Well, what a full little report of all the games that we've been playing. With that, so we talked about some shit. We talked about some games made 20 years ago. Let's talk about a game that just came out last week. That is taking the industry by storm. That game's called Astro Bot from Team Asobi. If you have a PlayStation 5, you might have played the game that they made that launched with the console, Astro's Playroom, a little bit of like a tech demo. Or if you were one of the few like me that had a PlayStation VR, you might have played the VR game, Astro Bot Rescue Mission. But for most people, I think this is their first real dive into an Astro Bot game, and couldn't have been a better entry for this game, I think. Before we really get into the conversation, though, I want to kick it around the horn. Jake, something that I didn't tell you before we went live is our review scale, the golden shovel scale. It's out of 5. We rate games on how much we dig them. 0.5 is how did this get made? 1 is terrible. 1.5 is awful. 2 is bad. 2.5 mediocre. 3 is fine. 3.5 is good. 4 is great. 4.5 incredible. 5 is a masterpiece. Where do you think this lands on the golden shovel scale for you, Jake?
I mean, it's a good one to sample a new review scale on, because I would give this a 5 out of 5, a 10 out of 10, a 100 out of 100. It's a nearly perfect video game. I think it is a perfect video game. I don't know why I said nearly there. I'm trying to think of a fault now, and I'm struggling.
Yeah, this game absolutely fucking rules. Came in. Where would you throw it on the golden shovel scale?
I'm right there behind Jake on this one. This is a 5 out of 5 golden shovels, hands down. This is. I was talking to someone the other day about this earlier this week, and was like, Astro Bot is the best platformer since Mario Odyssey. And then I had to go back and was like, wait a second, this might be the first platformer since Mario Odyssey, actually. So it might not be fair. It might not be fair to say that, but I really I can't stress it enough that Astro Bot is a work. It is an absolute fucking masterclass in literally every single thing it does.
It kind of is unreal. I think in all of the years that I've been playing video games, so I've made the least amount of progress on the panel today. I'm in like the 4th world of 5, not including the like extra worlds. And I think all of you are ahead of me. I mean, Jake, you're about to finish the game, and Cayman, I think you're in world 5, you said, right?
Yeah.
So you guys are definitely further.
The game,
yeah, you guys are further along than me, but I don't think I've ever in my time of thinking about games in the context of a review known so quickly that this is a 5 out of 5 or a 10 out of 10 or 100 out of 100. I mean, and it might sound absurd, I would say within like 20 minutes, I was like, this game is fucking incredible. I already knew that like it would have to really go somewhere for it to drop from a 5 out of 5 for me, because the polish, the design, the like love that is all like from beat one, the celebration of the brand of PlayStation and all of the games that they've been making for the last 30 years, for it to come out on the 30-year anniversary month of the console, like stars fucking aligning for this game. And I can tell that they knew what they were doing. Like I'm sure months ago, PlayStation was like, oh, this is going to fucking hit. I mean, its Metacritic right now is a 95. It's the highest rated game of the year so far. And I won't be surprised if it wins game of the year from several outlets, including the Game Awards.
Right.
It's kind of astounding. Jake, did you play either Rescue Mission or Playroom?
Playroom. Yeah. Playroom. I am not a platinum trophy guy at all.
Yeah.
However, Astro's Playroom is the first trophy that I ever got.
Really?
really like just pulled me in. I could get on board with it so quickly. It was so much fun to complete additional things. And for the first time in a long time, I think it was something about the size of that game and the scope of that game that kind of pulled me in to say, hey, listen, you beat the whole thing in 3.5 hours. Don't you want a little bit more? And I was like, yeah, I want more.
Yeah,
that'd be very nice. So that was the first platinum that I ever got. It's not because I wasn't gaming for years and years prior to that. I just wasn't really a completionist. But sure. I think about getting a PSVR, like an original PSVR, just so I can play Rescue Mission.
It would be worth it. Like when I first played Rescue Mission, it was one of the few games that I ended up actually enjoying on the PlayStation VR. But I was texting with Cayman the other day, and if I had like one criticism of this game, it's that it doesn't feel quite as magical to me as I think it is feeling for a lot of people, because this is how good it feels in Astro Bot Rescue Mission on VR. It's a little different because it's in the context of VR. But when I think about all of the, like on the DualSense, all of the cool things that it does with the haptic feedback and all of the things that it does with just the way that it makes you feel immersed in the game via the controller, they did the exact same thing with PlayStation VR, where they used the tools that that console has and made the game feel unique to that console. You know, and like, describing it probably sounds stupid, but like with the VR, having to like kind of look around stuff and kind of find where certain secrets are, and it made you use all of the different aspects of what was on your head. And this version does that too, where it's like it's always kind of trying to get the player to think, okay, I know I'm missing a couple more bots in this level. Look around. What am I not thinking of based on what I've learned so far in this specific world? Because the amount of times that this game reinvents itself from one level to the next is crazy. How in one mission you'll be like going underwater, swimming around, very much like a Mario 3D game, and then the next level you're like this metal ball just like rolling around on spikes and shit like that. Like it's so often changes the type of game it is, but at the end of the day, like it's always just an incredibly built 3D platformer, and it just continues to blow me away at every turn.
Yeah,
I concur.
Yeah, it's. I think. Go ahead, Cayman.
I think this is also, I think, very important to point out too, is that we kind of this year I think is a great time for Astro Bot to come out, because there's a lot of different mediums that I feel like are trying to do that same thing, right? Where it's trying to not reboot, like Astro Bot's not rebooting anything. It's not, I mean, it's a sequel, but this is not like a traditional sequel that you would think of. Think like a Mario sequel more so than anything else. But it pays homage, like you mentioned, to PlayStation's history. And I think right now there's a lot of stuff happening in mediums that are doing that too. Specifically Alien Romulus and Beetlejuice. And I think what's going on really well with Astro Bot is that it understands that mission, that to pay a good homage is both to pay respects to what came before you, but also chart a new path as well, while utilizing what you've learned. And I think if you look at something like Alien Romulus, I think that movie does such a great job of doing the same thing Astro Bot does. But then if you take a look at something like Beetlejuice, just absolute piece of fucking dog shit. One of the worst things I've seen in recent memory. And that is one of those where when it goes to try to pay homage to the original Beetlejuice, it does it in a way that it feels both forced and also just doesn't feel like it works today. Where I think the way that Astro Bot, like bringing in weird shit like fucking Mr. Mosquito makes an appearance. It's one of the most asinine things that you would include in a video game, but it works because you can tell the way that it's included isn't like, we're just including this so we can say, hey, look, there's Mr. Mosquito. It's like, hey, we're doing this because people out there actually love Mr. Mosquito, and we want to show that like we also remember him too. And I think that that's what Astro Bot does. I think if there's one thing the tagline that you could put on Astro Bot is that we love PlayStation 2. I think that would be the tagline I would slap on this game.
Yeah.
And because that's what this is. It's a love letter to just the best parts of PlayStation, while also being one of the best platformers that I've played in years.
Yeah. Here's a question for both of you. With that in mind, Cayman, of how much this game digs deep in their bag for PlayStation references, so much so that there have been at least 20 Astrobots that I find. I'm like, I have no idea what you're referencing.
Yeah,
because like they're going that deep in the Duffy.
Right.
Where do you think they go from here? Like, I don't want to necessarily talk too much about the future because I want to celebrate how incredible this game is. But I have wondered as I've been playing it, because when you compare it to Astro Bot Rescue Mission, that game didn't really have anything in terms of celebrating PlayStation. It wasn't until Playroom where they started leaning into this, like, we're going to be a mascot for Sony and celebrate all of the different stuff from the history of Sony. but it feels like they kind of cover just about everything that they can cover in this game. Do you think they pivot from that? Do you think they just find more unique ways to bring in a Nathan Drake Astro Bot? Like, where do you think they go from here, Cayman?
That's a really good question. Because the way that they include certain elements of other PlayStation IP in certain levels is really, really clever and really kind of flips the script on like what a typical platformer looks like. And while part of me is like, you could just do a straight up just an Astro Bot game that creates its own lore and universe and like that, and I would eat that shit up. I do kind of feel like we've maybe hit a point where like it's might upset some people that we're not having such like a chef's kiss moment of like we're tying a bow on 30 years of PlayStation.
Sure.
And that might upset people. I honestly I would love to see what Team Asobi can do outside of Astro Bot more than anything else. Just like Bloober Team, or not Bloober Team. Not Blueprint.
Blue Point.
Blue Point. I kind of want to see like what they can do as well, making Demon Soul, like remaking Demon Souls, like pretty much from the ground up, like shot for shot, just incredible. And it's like, you guys are amazing at this, but like, what else can you do? Because like, there's legit talent here.
Yeah, which we should be seeing relatively soon. What they're working on,
hopefully. And so with this, I'm like, I would be content with them taking a swing at it. You know, what would be fucking cool? A Sackboy's Big Adventure Astro Bot team up.
Ooh, like that could be fun.
Like that would be so fucking insane. I don't know. I think the thing is like it when you make a game like this and you make something this special, it's really hard to follow up on it.
Yeah.
And that
Jake,
I think is terrifying. Where
do you think they go from here, Jake?
Oh my god, I have so many like sweet like headcanon theories about what Team Asobi should be doing right now. And I think I go kind of in the other direction. And when this game was like announced and they were showing it off, I had this theory of like, I wish that they would lay into like the PlayStation platformer history more than just general PlayStation history, and just going off of like what could they do with like another IP. Like how good would it be if obviously Ratchet and Clank is in good hands, but what if we just gave Team Asobi, Jak and Daxter or Sly Cooper, like one of those classic PS2 IPs to try their hand at. But after playing this, can I spoil the entirety of World 1?
Yeah, I think we can. World 1, that's early in the game. I think that's fair.
Okay. At the end of World 1, there is a dedicated Ape Escape level where
so good.
So
they give us like a little taste of like what Ape Escape 4 could be, you know? And where I think I want, like, taking that into consideration and the fact that they are willing to sort of go a little further even than just these cameos makes me want to like see them dig in even further, to the point of, I think that I kind of divert two ways on this. One way is it's almost like poor timing that we're getting like Lego Horizon Adventures, because I would love to see like Astro Bot do like Astro Bot does Ratchet and Clank, or Astro Bot does, you know, whatever PlayStation IP that they wanted to do, and almost have like Astro be the binding thing of making these Astro style games, like that are different interpretations of these worlds. Exactly. But more for like the video game universe than like the movie IP universe or comic IP universe, would be such an interesting take. But I think if I really have, like, these are all fun ideas. I would love to see them do Jak and Daxter. I would love to see them focus on like these other more dedicated games. I think if I really have my druthers here and I can have them do anything, just go and make Astro Bot 2 and dig in further to third-party IP. And I would love to see Astro Bot become like the Super Smash Brothers of platformer collaborations. And like, how far can we go? Can we get Sonic the Hedgehog in this thing? Can we go as far as like, listen, I know this is a long shot. I don't think we'll ever see Astro and Mario in the same thing, but who knows? Like, if we can get Astro Bot into the next Smash Brothers, can we get a Mario level in the next Astro Bot? Like, could we get that far? How wide, how far can they fly, bringing all of these games together? And could Astro Bot be, with the way that we're going, where like, if you ask me, Game Pass will be on PlayStation consoles by 2027. You know, these kind of things where like it looks like games are going to be available in more places on more hardware. how much of this can we fold into Astro Bot? Like, could this be the binding like nature of Sony's IP become the binding nature of video game IP?
I like that a lot. That one feels a little hopium pilled to me, but it would be
opium.
Like I'm hoping that happens.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah. I like that.
But I mean, it'd be fucking awesome. I can't help but wonder if they're to kind of add on to the Lego type idea, Jake, of like them kind of doing their own version of game X, Y, or Z. If Astro Bot becomes the Mario of PlayStation, and that we're gonna get like Astro Bot Racer, we're gonna get like a fighting game where all of the characters are the Astro Bot different characters. If we get Astro's Tennis, like if we kind of go that route of getting, they would the place where that starts to fall apart is that the way Nintendo does it, they have dedicated people that make those other games. Like they have the team that makes a sports game. They have a team that makes Mario Party. It's not it wouldn't be a Sobe making all of those games. So that's kind of where it falls apart. But I think Nintendo is unique in the ecosystem of having that kind of platformer stuff still in a wide range of ideas. And I feel like Astro Bot could be the PlayStation answer to that, and could be a way to start bringing more younger players to the platform if they could convince families to just buy a PlayStation 5 instead of a Switch. Now, if they're going to make PlayStation 5 Pro be $700, that maybe not. Like, I don't know that that's going to work. We'll get to that later. But that's where my mind goes of like, how can Astro Bot become like the brand of PlayStation the way that Mario is for Nintendo?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hear me out. I think I'm on this. I think I have an idea. So, not to spoil anything, we'll just reference World 1. Each world, and I'm on the last. They're not worlds, they're galaxies. The last galaxy. I'm on the last galaxy, so I don't know how this all wraps up at the end. However, so far, each individual galaxy ends with a dedicated level towards a PlayStation IP. There's the 4 I've gone through. The first one, obviously, Ape Escape. Not going to mention the other 3 because I think we talked about this post-show, and it was like, these are really special moments to experience yourself. I don't want to... If someone fucking ruined the world, the Galaxy 3's final level, I would have fucking murdered them. I would have found where they live. I would have probably committed homicide. Possibly. So that being said, I think it'd be really interesting if they continue to kind of do things like this, where like you still get interesting levels that have different mechanics. But let's say the next game, Astro Bot 2, the last level that you get on that one's going to be medieval, and you get to hang out with Sir Daniel Fortescue.
Yeah.
And you get to do a level dedicated to him. Maybe World 2 ends with, because so far, and like I said, I'm not sure if the last galaxy ends like this as well, or if it does, what that IP they bring up is. But so far, out of the 4 galaxies, 2 are... One's Ape Escape, obviously, which I feel like a lot of modern gamers probably don't even know what the fuck Ape Escape is.
That probably didn't click for a lot of people.
And I can 1000% tell you that most people don't even know what the fuck the last level of World Galaxy 4 is. Holy shit, what a deep cut that was. And what a wonderful moment that was. It made me be like, we need another game in that series.
Yeah.
I think you could continue to do that, where maybe you do get a level from another very large IP. Maybe you do get, and then you get smaller levels where it is like, maybe we're going to do Sweetoken or some weird fucking shit like that. Maybe we're going to do a level that's Wild Arms based.
Sure.
I would like, and I think this is why this right here is like I could potentially be a turning point for what PlayStation, I think, can do next. Is going to be like, we can still make The Last of Us Part 3. We can still make the next God of War, whatever, right? However, we can still make shit like Sackboy's Big Adventure, things like Astro Bot, where these are games that are maybe a little bit easier for someone to get into. You're not jumping into a series that has established lore and a lot of canon or mature titles. And I think that PlayStation right now is I think that's one of the big things that they're missing, is they don't have that entry point to get kids involved with games right now. And I think Nintendo is a lot of, not saying that Nintendo's success with the Switch is 100% dependent on the fact that Mario is a tried and true game that a lot of us grew up on. And so we introduce it to our kids, right? Sony, I don't think has that. And I think Sony could really do well by like introducing more stuff like these types of games to get a younger audience. Because let's be honest, I got like 5 more years left in me before I'm dead. Okay. So like you're gonna need to replace me somehow. How do you do that? You make fucking games like Astro Bot where like if I had a child that was like 6, 7 years old, this is the game that we would sit down and play. Sackboy's Big Adventure is another game that we would sit down and play together. And like I think this is great. I also would love a fucking Astro Bot co-op game. Being able to do
really
couch
cool.
co-op in an Astro Bot game would be fantastic. So I think there's a lot of room for Sony to kind of maybe explore more games like this. Like maybe get back to your roots. Video games are fun. Video games should be fun. They don't always need to be tear jerkers or really get you in the gut, you know. I don't need those moments. Sometimes I just want to play around as a little robot who boinks people on the head. You know, sometimes that's all we need. The world sucks right now. We need more Astro Bot.
Cayman's only got 5 years to live. He just wants to boink you on the head, folks.
I do.
Just let him do that.
I do.
Yeah, I agree that like I feel like this game is at its most special on those like end of galaxy worlds where it's like they're really like all in. This whole entire level is themed around a game, and so I would love to see, even if like they do DLC where it's like, okay, we're gonna go into this world and do a few different levels based around Final Fantasy VII or whatever. Like that could be really, really cool. Any final thoughts on Astro Bot before we jump into topic number 2? I feel like we spent so much time talking about the future, we didn't talk as much about the actual game, but the game fucking rules.
Jake and I are gonna have a race where we're gonna see which one of us hits the platinum first. Jake's beat the game. I haven't yet. So we'll see what happens. Jake,
I'll report in.
Challenge has been I've handed you my what do people hand when they're like challenging someone to a duel? Is it a handkerchief? Is that a thing? Am I making this up?
Maybe
we can say that you're handing him your handkerchief.
Yeah.
Maybe you win the title of Dumpster Boy.
And I shall. Who could tell? It is a nice moniker. I would take it happily.
Jake secretly knows that he has like 1 trophy left to get the platinum. And you're
how many platinums do you have, Cayman?
Just rolled 94.
Okay, I have 3.
Okay. That's fair. We actually were like talking about, because I'm at 94 right now. I've got some like backlog stuff that I need to like polish off. Astro Bot obviously will be 95. I got a couple other things. We're like talking about like, okay, Platinum 100 has to be special. We don't 100% know what that's going to look like. I can already tell you right now, you can't Platinum Borderlands or I can't Platinum Bulletstorm anymore because the servers are offline.
Boo.
And that's why you should not have online fucking trophies.
Agreed.
Yep.
Can't Platinum Concord either anymore.
Right. One of the lucky 69.
Did anyone ever Did someone?
Yeah. Maury platinumed it on his 24-hour
shit. Good for Maury.
Yeah.
I believe it's 69 people exactly.
That's amazing.
Nice.
Had to be. It had to
nice.
Be. Jake, any final thoughts before we move on?
Somebody in my chat brought up the idea of they should make Astro Bot like a Sony equivalent amiibo. And I was like, oh, God. I would eat that up so quickly.
Yeah, that would be a problem for me. I don't normally buy in on that kind of stuff, but there's something about the shared aesthetic that they are all Astrobots that I love it so much. When I finally see like what's their version of character X is like, oh, I love it. It's so good. Okay, well, we're all very high on it. We all gave it a 5 out of 5. If you don't have a PlayStation 5, honestly, you should buy one to play Astro Bot. It's that fucking good. But you might not want to buy a PlayStation 5 Pro. That was announced earlier today. We're going to go through the details and give our thoughts on it. Oh, actually, sorry. Before we move on, final thing about Astro Bot. I had asked our audience for some thoughts I got some from Nick, aka Sweetskeet, and I didn't share them, so I'm going to share those right now. We've noticed a theme the last few years for Game of the Year contenders to do something different that makes them more unique than the other games that year. Taking the Mario and all other platformer genres, but getting the DualSense controller to its max capacity is the difference. I feel immersed in the world because of the controller. I love the music. I love the graphics. I love the abilities, love the Easter eggs. Everything is smooth, but that damn controller is making this a game I think about at work and all day, constantly. Nick, I don't disagree. Now for some fucked up news. I'm pulling straight from the PS blog. So earlier today, PlayStation dropped an 11-minute video from Mark Cerny, aka Dana Carvey, announcing the PS5 Pro and all of the details around it. And this is a shortened version of what they wrote, going through all the different details. Over the last 4 years since the launch of the PlayStation 5, we've worked hard to continuously evolve the console experience and deliver the great games our players expect from us. Today, I'm incredibly proud to announce the next step in that evolution and welcome PlayStation 5 Pro to the PlayStation family, our most advanced and innovative console hardware to date. We developed PS5 Pro with deeply engaged players and game creators in mind, as many have asked for a console that runs even higher fidelity graphics with smoother frame rates at 60 frames per second. We achieved this on a PlayStation 5 Pro with several key performance features. Number one, upgraded GPU. Their GPU is now 67% more, it computes 67% more units than the current PS5 console and is 28% faster in its memory. They couldn't have added 2% more computing units to get that up to 69%, Jake. What the fuck? What are they doing? Insane. Overall, this enables up to 45% faster rendering for gameplay. Advanced ray tracing. They've added even more powerful ray tracing that provides more dynamic reflection and refraction of light. This allows the rays to be cast at double and all at times triple. Cayman, they have triples of the ray tracing.
You got triples of the Barracuda.
Oh my God.
Triples is best.
Triples is best.
The triples of the Nova.
And then finally, AI-driven upscaling. We're also introducing PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, an AI-driven upscaling that uses a machine learning-based technology to provide super sharp image clarity by adding an extraordinary amount of detail. Other enhancements include a game boost, which can apply to more than 8,500 backwards compatible PS4 games, enhanced image quality, which basically can just increase the resolution of certain PS4 games. It's going to launch with the latest wireless technology with Wi-Fi 7, a bunch of other stuff. Apparently it'll be able to do 8K, even though no one fucking can. It lists a bunch of games that are going to support it. The ones that you would expect: Gran Turismo, Spider-Man 2, all of the first party stuff, and then some third party as well. And then this is where I feel like it starts to get absolutely absurd. Players can add an Ultra HD Blu-ray disc drive, because it doesn't come with one, but more so, it is going to cost $700 US. It's going to launch November 7th with a 2 terabyte hard drive, a DualSense, a copy of Astro's Playroom.
Thanks.
But yeah, this is discless, and if you want to get a vertical stand, you got to buy that separately too. So yeah, Jake, you live streamed your reactions to this to your Twitch channel. I was in the chat. We were vibing. So I personally know how you feel, but let the folks at home know. What did you think about this 11-minute presentation from PlayStation?
I cackled on multiple occasions at how out of touch this presentation was.
Yeah, it was insane.
No matter what angle you take it from, it just seems so insane. Where what's I tried to think of the defense earlier of people are going to be like, well, if you're a hardcore gamer that's, thinking about getting a PS5, this would be the one that you go for. If you're a hardcore gamer, you already have a PS5 after 4 years. Yeah. You're not investing. They're asking you to ditch your old PS5 and spend $710, $710 all said and done if you want to store it vertically and grab the disc drive.
No, sir.
Oh, it's $699, $810.
The disc drive is $80.
Yep.
The vertical stand, $30 fucking dollars.
Yeah. $810 for
$810
plus
$810
plus tax.
Not even tax. So we're
of course
no less than $900.
Yeah, it's absurd.
And that's okay. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm cutting you off, Jake. I have to lose my
you're fine
for a second. Here's the problem. Here's the problem, guys. Something Patrick said. 8K. nothing can do 8K.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to maximize your PlayStation 5, I said nothing. That's a lie. The cheapest TV that I could find that is not like some Westinghouse bullshit, but like just like a Vizio that can do 8K, $2,500. Okay. What the fuck is this bullshit?
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at 3+ that. Just buy yourself a fucking gaming PC.
I mean, for real.
Yeah.
Because honestly, at the end of the day, it's going to be cheaper to do that, because if you just piecemeal things, that's what Sony should do. Just fucking release a PlayStation 5 that you just piecemeal upgrades.
I mean, just release a PC, PlayStation.
Yeah.
Let me do Excel on my PlayStation 5, please.
The crazy the part that rubs me the worst way, if that's even a phrase, is when you compare it to the PS4 jump to PS4 Pro. Because here's my thing. I am the audience for this. I host a PlayStation usually centric podcast. I stream every week. I spend so much money on gaming shit that I really shouldn't. I am the audience for this.
Yeah.
I have 2 Switch OLEDs, one for me, one for my wife. I have multiple special edition fucking dual senses. Like
it's a beautiful one.
This is the I am the person that this, I think, is supposed to be marketed to. And when I compare it to the PS4 to the PS4 Pro, when that happened, the base version dropped in price. This one brought in things that the other one couldn't do that were actually meaningful. Then it could jump to 4K, then it could do HDR, then like there were really meaningful jumps from the PS4 to the PS4 Pro. Whereas this, I feel like really it's just like, if you want to do more than 60 frames per second, you're going to be able to, and you're going to get triples of the ray tracing. But it's like, I know that in the video, like it's hard to really showcase in a live stream comparing something when you're trying to compare like 4K to 8K or whatever, but I genuinely couldn't tell the difference between the things that they were showing. And Mark Cerny is like, oh, I really love this scene with Astro Bot, or not with Astro Bot, with Ratchet and Clank. You can really notice more detail. I'm like, I really can't.
Do the voice. Do the voice. Do the voice. Do the voice.
I don't know. I wasn't planning for this. I don't know if this is actually going to sound like it, but let's see. With Ratchet and Clank ripped apart. No, that's not a Mark Cerny voice.
That's a Mark Cerny voice.
Not even close.
That's pretty sure.
It's pretty good.
You could be cast in Master of Disguise right now, Patrick.
I mean, come on. But it's like, I don't know. I don't understand who this is for. Because if it's not for me, who is it for? You know what I mean? Like, do either of you have an idea?
I was about to say that much like Sony, we haven't even talked about software. When you were talking about the PlayStation 4 Pro, that was like being marketed as like, this is the best place to play Marvel's Spider-Man, which was about to launch right alongside it within a couple weeks, I think. And by that time, we already had a title and trailer for Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us Part 2. And I was thinking about the future and how excited I am to play things in the future on this. Like, okay, I have a 4K TV now I can get it to output in 4K, and I can play these upcoming games on that. That's going to be a really like awesome experience. They're showing me games that are like 5+ fucking years old. Like, I don't want to go replay Ghost of Tsushima for the 3rd time, you know, on this, that, or the other thing. Like, Gran Turismo already looks incredible. I can't imagine it looking that much better. And right now, the only first party Sony game that's announced is like, what, Fair Games?
And Wolverine, but other than that, I think those are the only 2 that we know of in an official capacity. Like, we know that they're working on Last of Us 3. They've basically all but confirmed it.
Right.
We know that Santa Monica is working on a new IP. Like, there are things that we know, but we just haven't seen anything in a while. That's a really good point. That like the first game that Mark Cerny really went into depth on was The Last of Us Part 2. I'm like, dog.
It's I think the thing is, there's a lot of elements, and honestly, funny enough, and maybe I just have been like, my Twitter is because the debates tonight, that like my Twitter is just more focused on that right now. But I haven't seen many people. The jokes have been coming, but like no one's really like jumped on this to like really drag them. But like, this is incredibly tone deaf for a lot of different reasons. One of them being, you literally just canceled a game that had launched 2 weeks later. You're not going to talk about that? You don't want to talk about what you're going to do there? You want to talk about a new $700 fucking console? Doesn't have a fucking disk drive, but you just closed a game. Okay. You don't want to talk about the fact that this year we've got Astro Bot, and the other IP we got was a game you literally just fucking closed. Yeah. But we want to talk about consoles. I'm going to turn into Allen Iverson here in a second.
You want to talk about consoles?
Let's talk about consoles. It's fucking tone deaf. Your player base is getting more and more frustrated because of how tight-lipped you've been about everything. And the one thing your player base actually wants is an upgraded Portal. No one wants this fucking console because we have nothing to play on it. What we want is a Portal that I can play while my wife is using my main PlayStation.
Sure.
That's what we want. We don't want this fucking dog shit. Who is it for? I was going to say it's for the 1%, but I don't even think the 1% gives a flying shit about it.
I can't help but wonder if, to your point, Jake, how they lean so much on previous games. If in 2025, when they announce what Bluepoint's making, we finally get what Sony Bend is making. If they do like another kind of marketing campaign around the PS5 Pro to be like, okay, now that we can actually show you the new games we're working on, here's what they look like. Because also we can expect whenever there's a top of the line console, from this point forward, they will only show us stuff on PS5 Pro because it's going to look the best. And they're going to be able to say, on PS5 Pro, they can do this, this, and this. And, over the next several years, it'll start being that things kind of can't work on the PS5 anymore. But then again, maybe not, because I feel like the other thing too, and, maybe this is just that kind of thing where it's easy for me to remember it that way. But I feel like back when the PS5 or the PS4 Pro was coming out, I understood that there were already some limitations with the hardware. I feel like we're barely even seeing the hardware used to its fullest potential still in 4 years. And now they're already trying to convince us that they need something better. I just don't buy it. Like, I don't feel like we've been told with their releases that the PS5 Pro needs to be iterated on, right?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest talking points was the decision that players have to make between performance and fidelity. And they talked about how 75% of people choose performance. And I think that they're confusing those statistics with like 100% of the people that make those decisions give a fuck about it. And I, for one, like, I know that there are some snobs out there that are really hot on this thing. And I get it. Like, I do see the difference. Like, I pick performance. I prioritize frame rate whenever possible. And I can tell the difference between 30 and 60. The thing is that I just don't really care that much, like, personally. And I think that the average gamer is in the same boat. It just seems like really the big three pillars that I hate that they called it the big three, dude. It's so, this whole thing was so cringe.
We call it the big three.
Oh, that was referred to as such. Mark Cerny.
That was good. You launched into it. But I can't bring myself to care about any of those three features. Like,
I agree. Because also, like, we've talked about it on this show several times. I assumed that part of the PS5 Pro had to be something AI driven. Like, it's just too big right now. And in all versions of the tech industry, AI is the thing. Like, I'm sure in everybody's job right now that's in tech, AI is somewhere in their fucking pipeline or whatever. So I assumed that we would get AI. What I didn't think that they would try to convince us on is ray tracing, something that, like, they basically was like, it's ray tracing, but better. I can't believe that that's one of the big three. The other one, it being like a stronger GPU, that makes sense. Like, it's a stronger computer, so it's going to have better power or bigger power or whatever. But that one, I feel like ray tracing is not a word that, or a thing that, like, moves a needle anymore. Because any game that's photorealistic has ray tracing. Like, I don't. And that was also going back to my point of, like, I couldn't tell the difference. Maybe if I see them side by side on, like, with my own eyes live and not via a stream, I could tell the difference. But I don't see triples of the ray tracing with what they showed us.
But do you see triples of the Nova?
I do see triples of the Nova.
What about the Barracuda?
And the Barracuda, because triples is always best.
Triples is always best. Okay, here's the thing, and we talked about this a lot in Discord when all this was happening. So anyone that's still that's on watching right now that was in Discord, you're gonna hear the repeats, triples actually.
Triples are the repeats.
So, and we talk about this a lot. I know we brought this up before on episodes. Like the law of diminishing return is a real thing, and it's more apparent on things that are more visual, in which there is a certain point in which you can't go any further. And we're starting to near that point in video games where things are becoming so hyper realistic that like we're not going to be able to we're not going to be able to tell what's really going on in terms of like how things are getting better. The triples of the ray tracing is a perfect example of like, once you ray trace once, it starts to get really hard when you ray trace twice. And then when you ray trace a third time, ray trace thrice, like, do you even fucking notice? And no, it's because the law of diminishing returns. So the question becomes, when we get to that point where PlayStation 5, no one's going to be developing games based on the PlayStation 5's hardware. Okay. They're going to be basing games. And this is what Xbox has been suffering from, is that they're basing games off of the lowest common denominator. Where's the biggest fan base at? That's where we're going to put our money.
Sure.
Because it's not going to function well if you base everything you're doing off the strongest thing, then nothing's going to fucking run. You're going to have a Crysis 3 situation where there's computers, like there's still hardcore, like $5,000-$10,000 peak gaming rigs right now that still struggle to run Crysis 3. Like it was not optimized at all.
Xbox is dealing with right now with like they say, it's not because of the Series S, but like we all know it's because of the Series S. Like with things like Black Myth Wukong, with Baldur's Gate 3, where the studio was like, it's the Series S. Like they're already having that problem. So that's a great point.
Where we're at right now, it's like they're not going to be making things for this shit. And then when you couple that with the law of diminishing returns, where like the more you put and the more effort resources you're putting towards something and the less you're getting from it, it's not worth it anymore from a development standpoint. So what is this hardware going to be doing for actual game design? How is it going to impact actual game design? We talked about this in Discord about how Ghost of Tsushima had to actually make their loading screens longer so that people would could actually read the game tips. That's a literal thing that happened. So we're getting there. The system's fast enough that you can have seamless shit. You can easily transition through Miles Morales or to Peter with a snap of the fingers.
Right.
So like, and that's just on the base PlayStation 5. So like, what is the PlayStation 5 when we start to move up that ladder tech-wise? How is that going to impact actual game design itself? What is the game design going to be running? Unless all of our consoles are just fucking mining cryptocurrency while we're fucking playing GTA 6. Like, what is it actually doing that's moving the needle, driving the industry forward, outside of the fact that eventually we're going to have video games made illegal because you're going to have a Call of Duty game where you're going to be murdering a bunch of people, and it is so photorealistic that Congress intervenes. Like, do we really want to go down? Do we want to get that far, guys? Or do we want to actually start making games like Astro Bot that are fucking good? And like, I know I'm being very spicy this episode, but like, I'm really frustrated with Sony right now.
Yeah.
And
that's why we need angry dumpster boys in the chat. We'll get those eyes pulsing in the chat.
I'll get off my soapbox.
No, it's frustrating. And also, I don't know, that paired with how they're like raising the price of their DualSense, and they're raising the price of the base console too in certain territories. I can't remember if it's also in North America, but I know in other territories it's going up. So it's like they're trying to increase their bottom line, and it's probably because they're not releasing games right now outside of Astro Bot, because we know what happened with Concord. Which, speaking of, we got GWT Moore in the chat, #1 Concord streamer. Here, going to be here tomorrow night, which we've already mentioned. He said he might finish and fucking prove it. Send a video. But yeah, I don't know. I have trouble accepting that this is a good strategy from Sony, and I hope that it doesn't end up blowing up in their face, because I saw there were some reports from analysts that like they like on the number side, where like we expect it to sell just as well as the PS4 Pro did, even though the price is a lot higher. And I just don't know that I buy that.
It's a weird environment. Like I've said today that like PlayStation is winning the console generation by default right now is what it feels like. Like I don't think they're doing anything spectacularly well, especially in this like second half of this console generation so far. In fact, I think that if we look at like what's slated, at least what we know about, these next 2 years are probably going to be Xbox heavy. Like I think the slate of upcoming games, at least we know what's on the docket, and there's some pretty strong stuff coming between like Indiana Jones and Fable and all of that. And I know that, you know, Indiana Jones will be a PlayStation game eventually, but I don't know. I'm interested to see, like you're saying, Patrick, how does this affect Sony in the future? I don't know. It seems so tone deaf that it could do permanent damage to the like the reputation, not the reputation, but like the way that their fans speak about them. I've got a decently big post going right now. Like my reaction is like upwards of like 100,000 views across all platforms, which brings out the commenters. So I feel like I get a really good idea of like the general public, or at least the general public that's willing to say something. And usually that is people that are vocally for or against whatever I'm talking about. And in the case of the PlayStation 5 Pro, it has been pretty against, man. People are not thrilled with that. Even the Sony fanboys are not thrilled with that.
I can't remember all day. I don't think I saw a single positive take on the PS5 Pro, which is a bit shocking to me. But I think it's the price. I think it being $700 is like PTSD of when the PS3 launched at $500. It feels goofy. Like it feels so silly and out of touch with, or no, was it 600 when it launched? Was it 599 when it launched? Yeah. I mean, come on, it's silly. But
so I think it's a point worth being made, though, specifically talking about the PlayStation 3 launch, that Sony this generation has kind of fallen back to like old ways, where PlayStation 2 was one of the greatest selling consoles of all time, still renowned as one of the best console generations ever. And they go into PlayStation 3 riding that high, like no one can touch us, so we're just going to fucking do what we want. And then it backfired tremendously.
Right.
So they go into PlayStation 4 like, we really have to get our shit together, or we're going to be out of the console race, period. Then they dominate. And then we talk about this all the time, that flip, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, that flip, where, Sony's still doing better than Xbox in terms of like console sales from what we know. But at the same time, we're in a position now where like the moves that Microsoft's making is broadening their fan base, where they can swoop in next console generation if they do it smart and basically just completely obliterate Sony.
Sure.
If Sony doesn't get their shit together. And I think this is emblematic of being way too high up on your own shit, and then being like, we're untouchable, and we're repeating History Channel right now. Okay.
Sure.
And it's frustrating to see, as someone who is PlayStation's where I play. I think more so I don't really enjoy the UI of Xbox. And I hate the controller. I don't feel like it's ergonomical. And I think Sony's better that way, which sucks, because honestly, right now, I'd rather just go hang out on Xbox.
Sure.
At least I feel like I'm appreciated there, and I don't feel like I'm appreciated with Sony.
Sure. Something that I hadn't thought about that I just did was this launching with a 2 terabyte hard drive, whereas the PS5 launches with a 1 terabyte. And to upgrade to a 2 terabyte, back when you first could, it was like $200. So that, like, those numbers make sense. But like now, the hard drive market is just so inflated. Like 2 terabytes does not cost $200. Now on Amazon, you can get a PS5 SSD 2 terabyte for $117 at the first one that pops up. So I guess if a base PS5 is $500, you add the extra terabyte for another 115, and then the upgraded GPU triples of the ray tracing. Like, I understand why it's $700 when I think of it that way, but I don't think it would be getting as eviscerated online if they launched it at $600. I think it would be They would still be getting negative press, but I think it would probably be somewhere closer to 50-50. It probably still would have been like 60-40 on the way of negative, but right now I feel like it's like 99-1 in terms of negative to positive. Like Cognitive in the chat says he's seen one positive take from his friend about like if you trade it in, then it's not really $700, but trade-in value is also really not good for the consumer anyway. You'll probably only get like $200 for your PS5. So then you're paying $500 for the PS5 Pro, which, you know, but it's like, I don't know. It all just feels icky to me.
So I want to say that you can get right now a refurbished PlayStation 5 digital for like $329. I want to see, I saw online.
Okay.
So then you throw in, you know, you throw in the disk drive, $400 for a PlayStation 5, essentially with the disk drive, right?
Sure.
I'm sorry. I know that inflation's a thing. I know that everything's kind of gone up in prices. And I know that we start to get into a point where we start to talk about greedflation, things of that nature. And maybe that is playing into this as well, where Sony's like, hey, we can still make money by just charging whatever the fuck we want. But like the market's cooling. Inflation's coming down. Things are going to self-regulate. We're slowly but surely. I work in finance. We're getting back to some relative normal, and I don't think we'll ever get back to where we were in 2020. But like,
We're not without another pandemic,
right? But it's gonna make sense, right? And so I think where we're at right now, kind of looking at this, it's like it does feel like Sony is just trying to cash in to make more money. And the question is like, did they lose a shit ton of money on Concord to the point that it's like we can't cut, you know, corners? Because they've already made, like, at a certain point, console sales, because they sell them technically kind of at a loss, but at a certain point, you know, you start bringing, like, once you hit a certain sell point with games and everything, then like you're fine. You're in the green again. We're past that with Sony right now with their sales numbers. We're past that point. So the question is like, coming in green right now, do we really need it to be $700? Do we? Do we still need to play base? If the better question is, do we still need the base at 5?
We're I mean, such a weird.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Jake.
We're just in a weird landscape for hardware pricing too. Like there was a time when the PS2 dropped in price so significantly that you could walk in and buy that slim PS2 for $99, which is wild to think about because we're in a console generation where there has not been a permanent price drop on a quote unquote current gen console since 2017. I mean, the Switch is selling for the exact same price that it launched at. The PlayStation 5 had, I think, a holiday $50 price cut at one point last holiday season.
Yeah, that was just
a sale. Went right back up in price. Exactly. That was just a sale. There's no permanent price cut at all. I wonder if there's some 4D chess at play here. Like we launched this PS5 Pro for $700, and then doesn't that ease the pain when 2 years from now they announce the PlayStation 6 at $600? I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, that's an interesting thought too, because you also have to think there have been rumors that we're going to hear about the next Xbox within the next like 6 to 8 months. And so then it's like, okay, so let's say that in 2025, we hear about the Xbox Series Z, whatever the fuck, and that is going to come out at $600. I would have to think that then the following year we hear from PlayStation about the PlayStation 6, because they wouldn't let Xbox get a 2-year advantage on a next generation console. So then, yeah, it's like this weird thing where I think that's a very interesting point of like, is it setting us up for even more of a price jump for the next, because, you know, the next piece of hardware is going to be more expensive. Like it's going to be more powerful. It's going to be more cutting edge of technology. There are going to be quadruples of the ray tracing. So it's like, I would think that, it's frustrating. I do feel like, and also, Boss Hoggins, thanks for being here. First time chatter, saying that having the disk drive feels predatory with the price of digital games and whatnot. And so then I'm like, okay, now they have also just normalized, we're not going to be getting a disk drive in the next PlayStation. They're going to continue to add that as an extra fee, but the base price isn't going to change. They're not going to let the consumer get that savings. It's just now we're just going to accept that if we want a disk drive, we're just going to have to pay another like $80 to $100 moving forward. And that sucks.
So okay, so quick,
I think we're being. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, Jake, please.
I was just saying, it feels like we're being conditioned with these lack of price drops to become early adopters in some ways. Like, I think if you're using the Nintendo Switch as the option, think about people that waited until the pandemic to buy their Switch, which a lot of people did. They bought it for that same exact price. So now as the Switch 2 comes out, the value proposition of waiting for a price drop just no longer exists. So I wonder what demand looks like for this next generation of consoles going forward. Because I can tell you right now, like I wouldn't have skipped it anyway, but I think there's a bunch of people that are looking at like the Switch 2, which theoretically could be announced in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
As something that comes out, and even if it's a $400 or $500 system, you go, well, I might as well get it now and play the games on it when it comes out because I'm not going to save anything by waiting.
Right.
So I have a question, and I'm curious. First, kind of a joke, but how much do we blame on Elon Musk? Because he,
a lot.
I mean, I don't know if you guys have read much into this, but he's like because of his bullshit trying to create the greatest AI of all time. Just, I guess, to give him a hand job or something. I don't fucking know what his deal is. Like, he's essentially disrupted the GPU market because he's basically has like bought out huge swaths from like all these companies and is like fucked everyone else because he has ungodly amounts of money and has like disrupted the chain. So one, that's more of a joke, but the two is like, when we do talk about things like law of diminishing returns and stuff like that, they know this. They're not dumb. These are, believe me, I couldn't build a fucking PlayStation. Like, they know that we're getting to a point where like each iteration is going to get a little less exciting. Like, just imagine that jump between PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3 was wild, right? So the question is this going to be, when we think of a console lifespan, we think 6-7 years roughly. Do we think them dropping it now, about to go into year 5, is more so for them to be like, hey, this is the holdover that's going to basically bridge the gap for the next 4 years instead of 2? Because we don't have games. They're taking much longer to like, there's no point in us making new consoles if we don't have things to put on them, because consoles, like game development cycles, are taking much, much longer, and all of these disruptions in the tech industry and all these things that are happening, that this might be the solution is like, we give you this version, it's just a little bit better. And for those of you that want a little bit better, this is going to tie you over for 4 more years. Let's be honest. Would anyone really be angry? I think really the only people who are ready for the next console to come was probably the PlayStation 3 days, Xbox 360 days of being like, we're ready for an upgrade now. We know we can have better. Where now it's like, I don't think we've seen anything justify the need for a new console.
Yeah, I agree.
So like, maybe this is Sony kind of getting ahead of the horse and being like, look, we're going to just go ahead and get out now. This is going to be a while before you're going to see PlayStation 6. This is for those of you who want something a little bit better, that want to try to get close. Like, even if you look at the PC market, well, yes, you can technically upgrade every single year because NVIDIA is going to drop a new fucking thing every year. Like, the truth is, upgrading from one to the next, that leap is not significant anymore. And that price point to go for one more big, $400 or $500 for a new chip it's not cheap.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, maybe we're there. Maybe where it's like, console generations are going to just last longer. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, maybe. Because also, I mean, I think about when the Switch 2 launches, I just don't see how it's going to be stronger than the PS5 or the Xbox Series X. So it'll just be closer to what they can do now. So, but that's going to be we're not going to get another Nintendo console for probably 7-8 years once that launches. So it's hard to even kind of bring them into the conversation because they truly just march to the beat of their own drum. And also they have wizards over there, and they can, even though the console is like half as powerful, sometimes their games look way better than anything on a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series. But that's a good point, came in, because I know like what I had mentioned, that Xbox is supposedly announcing a new thing. It probably is also an iteration. It's probably not the next actual generation. So then it's like, maybe we are here for the next several years, because I agree. And kind of I think start to wrap a bow on the topic, going back to the very beginning of like, we've not really seen, like, Astro Bot is maybe the first game on the PlayStation 5 that is really making the console kind of sing in every single way. before this, I feel like it was mostly just remasters of PlayStation 4 games that just look better. Or games that are just on both consoles, like Forbidden West, where like it's also a PS4 game. So it's like it's not, it can only do so much on the PS5 because it's also being built for something a lot less powerful. So I don't know. I'm interested to see if in like a year's time is the PS5 Pro $600. Like to your point, Jake, of like we're just not seeing price cuts. But I wonder and I hope the optimist in me wants the $700 price point to be a circumstance of the economy and not of like a larger strategy at play. Because if in 3 years that thing is still $700, I don't think I will ever buy a PS5 Pro. And I want to buy a PS5 Pro because I want to have the strongest possible PlayStation to play my games on. I just don't see how it's worth $700.
Yeah, it's diminishing returns. The whole way through. Every console generation is getting a little weaker and weaker as we take that jump. I mean, we're never going to see that jump from like the GameCube to the 360 era again. We definitely didn't see it. Like 360 to PS4 or Xbox One is maybe a better look at it, but it's getting worse and worse as we go. I don't see it improving from here.
Okay, I know we're wrapping up. I have a crazy idea though.
Crazy. Let's get crazy.
What if PlayStation 6? It's just a fucking Sony TV with the PlayStation built into the Sony TV. Oh, wow. Sell it all together.
What if?
Because like if you think about it, one of my big things I'm angry about is the fact that like the cost of the Pro, then you have to have a TV that can actually like take advantage of it.
Sure.
Why don't Sony makes TVs? Just fucking make it together. It can't be that difficult.
Have a little OLED screen just pop up off that thing. Let's go.
Dude, just a fucking 80-inch TV with a goddamn PlayStation 6 screwed onto the back.
Let's go.
That's what I'm thinking.
Ernie talks at me about it for 30 minutes. I'll buy it.
That's that's your Siri is Mark Cerny. They digitize his voice. He's the AI in the TV.
The architect of the PlayStation 6.
I could actually 100% see Mark Cerny them using his voice as like the voice narrator for.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think if they're not already working on it, they're gonna once they listen to this because I know they're listening. Folks, let us know what you think. What do you think about the PS5 Pro? Are you going to buy it? Are you going to trade in your console for it? Are you one of these 120 frames sickos? Do you see the difference? Let us know what you think. You can send in your thoughts to mail@spotlightgames.net, or you can follow us on our socials, Spot Games Pod on Twitter, but everywhere else is Spotlight Games Pod. We're here every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on twitch.tv/SpotlightGamesPod. We're going to be back tomorrow night with GWT Mori to play a little RE5, a little co-op. Of course, I'm going to be Shiva. No one can take that from me. But before we send everybody on their merry way, Cayman, where can the folks at home follow you?
You can follow me at the Dumpster Boy on Twitter. I might be making a guest appearance on the Never Ending Podcast coming up. I've tried to pitch that I want to piss off every single person that listens to that show by talking shit about Beetlejuice. Okay. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I might be starting fires on the internet soon. I don't know, man. Outside of that, spooky season's coming up. So just be prepared for just a lot of spooky season bullshit that'll come out of my mouth. And I think one last pitch. If you're not part of the Discord, you're really missing out on some of the most interesting conversations in really the worst kind of way. You just have to be there to experience some of the shit that happens, because it can be quite fun.
Jake, my dirty dog, thanks for coming on. It won't be the last time we see you on this channel if you'll have us. But for those that you're new to them, for those that have never seen your content before, give them the pitch. Where can they find you? Where can they see you? When can they see you? Tell them everything.
First of all, I can't wait to come back. Awesome conversation. I appreciate you guys having me. Really, really dope. I am JakeTwitchin on all platforms, but some people find that difficult. So I just went ahead and bought the URL, amazingstreamer.com.
Amazing.
Just go there. You'll figure out the rest. I'm sure of it. You're smart.
That's I love that. Just go to amazingstreamer.com. That's amazing. Well, Jake, thanks for being here. You can find him every day on Twitch streaming all sorts of stuff. In fact, he's going to be live later tonight. So for those of you in the chat right now, I see you and I hope that you go support the stream and play. What did you say you're playing later, Jake?
I think I'm going to do Towerborn's early access.
That's right. I don't know much about Towerborn, so you might see me in there. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Until next week, until tomorrow night, make sure you like, subscribe, all those things. We'll see you. Bye-bye.